We are analyzing the finals of the YCS at TCG, and I will be explaining everything, so if you do not play TCG, you will understand. Sky Strikers is going to be playing against branded Despia in the grand finals. You probably already know the results. If not, sit back and enjoy. We're going to be analyzing how toxic or how skilled the TCG could be.
There can only be one winner, and you're looking at it. Let's go.
Punk and Sword Soul being the best two decks, but neither of them in the grand finals. Quite nuts. We're going to start off with the Rose into Shizuku. Shizuku during the end phase is going to be able to be searching the deck for a Sky Striker card, searching for the Engage. Engage will be used next turn. This is during the end phase right now. Now, right now, this could be eating an Ash. You could Ash this, you could Impermanence this.
In the standby phase, Poe's going to activate Trap Trick.
Trap Trick. Banish a normal trap from your deck, and then y'all know this from the DD Dynamite, one turn kill. But what he's grabbing is a Dimensional Barrier, which will prevent your opponent from, you choose. You could choose that they're not allowed to Fusion, Synchro, Exceed, or Pendulum. Now, if we look at the branded Despia deck, the deck's all about Fusion Summoning. So if you declare Fusion with your Dimensional Barrier, they can't Fusion Summon, and their Fusion monsters are negated. Now, Fright for Patchwork is something that's being used right now, even in Master Duel and Despia decks. It gives you a Polymerization and gives you the Edge Imp Chain. So it's just really good value, because the Edge Imp Chain, if sent to the graveyard, will then search for another Fright for Patchwork. Polymerize. Now, the importance of Polymerization right here is that with Polymerization in the graveyard, you can't target Chimera. And not that he could summon Chimera right now, because Chimera requires a monster on the field at least. But once Polymerization's in the graveyard and you summon Chimera, which is non-targeting removal, it becomes untargetable. He's going to summon a Coritis. Coritis is going to be able to reduce the Shizuku by half, or by 2-0, that is. Now, if the Coritis leaves the field because of your opponent's card effect, not by battle, by card effect, you could special summon a Fallen Albaz or a Despia, or add it to your hand. Now, what's really toxic about this dude's deck is, if you're playing Duel Links, you know the Demise of the Land. Demise of the Land, if your opponent special summons, not even normal summon, you get to play a field spell from your freaking deck. So he played a Mystic Mine. Now, the Mystic Mine states that if either player controls more monsters than the other, they cannot activate monster effects, they cannot attack. Now, how do you counter the Mystic Mine? It's already gone. During the end phase, if both players have the same amount of monsters, then it destroys itself. So what happened is, he's now basically, he couldn't make any plays. If he were to attack, I know he would summon Ray, but if he did not summon Ray, then he would have more monsters than him. So basically, just seeing the Mystic Mine for a turn, he ended. You're done. No back row, no pass. Now, generally, the branded Despia deck, a lot of them don't play a lot of hand traps, even though we see the one over here playing hand traps. We have Widow Anchor stealing the Coritis. Now, what's going to be really good with that is Anaconda's banned. So what you make instead is Zeke. Zeke it up. Get Zeking. Now, it's important to know, he didn't even use his Dimensional Barrier, because he's saving it for, you can negate a monster on the field. You don't have to prevent a fusion. You can just negate the monster on the field. There's Zeke. And by freeing up your main monster zone, now you could use all your Sky Striker cards, which are only activatable if you have no monsters in the main zone. So steal their monster, make a Zeke, and then play over it with Kagari, which is limited to 1 in Master Duel. You could play 3 in TCG. That's nuts. You have Engage, searching. What do you search for? Do you search for a... Do we literally not see a search? Okay, Widow Anchor. Very good. Widow Anchor is not limited at all. You can play 3 Widow Anchors and 3 Kagari in the TCG. Isn't that broken? But the Engage limited 1. You can only play 1 Engage. Now, it's really ridiculous with the multi-roll, which I think is also limited to 1. Is that true? Multi-roll, every time you activate a spell with multi-roll face up, during the end phase, you could add any amount of spells from the graveyard that are Sky Striker cards and replay them on the field. We're going to Valor negate the Aluber, which I'm not sure if I guess that's okay to Valor the Aluber searching, because generally what you want to negate with the Valor, which you could disagree with me, is going to instead be the Albion branded Dragon or the Lubellion. Lubellion instead of the Aluber. But what's dangerous about the Aluber is the Aluber could search for a branded in red. Branded in red could summon the Guardian Chimera, which will be untargetable because he has a Polymerization in the grave. Now, is he scooping? What's going on?
Yeah, that was really devastating.
He's a scoop?
He's holding on to this.
Activate multi-roll. Activate reinforcement in the army. Yeah, I'm out.
Impressive set of secrets.
He's scooping. Because he knows in the end phase he's going to be recycling the Widow Anchor. Widow Anchor during the end phase next turn, that turn. And so far, we didn't really see the use of Mystic Mine. If we look at his deck, the Mystic Mine deck, this is a Mystic Mine deck with Sky Striker teched in. He's got Terraforming, Mystic Mine, Mystic Mine, Mystic Mine, Metaverse, and he's got 3 Demise of Land. He's got 8 Mystic Mines. Now, what makes the branded Despia deck so broken is the branded Fusion. Fusion summon into a Lubellion, Lubellion into a Mirror Jade. Mirror Jade will be non-targeting banish of a monster, and then it will also send an Albion branded dragon from your extra deck to the graveyard, which will allow you to search and set a branded in red, which essentially gives you non-targeting monster banishment, and then on the next turn, you could pop 1 to 2 monsters with the Chimera, non-targeting. This will actually destroy anything. Yep, non-targeting destroy. Now, after losing game 1, he's choosing for the Sky Striker player to go first. Sky Strikers, a lot of them like going second. They're a turn 2 deck.
It looks like Poe's hand is 2 copies of Afterburner, engaged in Ash Blossom. So he has at least 1 point.
And you can't really see it because it's off camera. He's activating the effect of his Shrouded Dragon. He's sending an Albaz from the deck to the graveyard, and then he's returning the Shrouded Dragon to the deck, and then he's drawing a card. Big play. Ash on the branded Fusion, but crossout designate to negate. That is the biggest counter for branded Fusion, and the reason for that is the Ash does not negate the activation. If the Ash were to negate the activation, let's say you had a Baron to floor and you negate the activation with the branded Fusion's negated, the activation, they can activate another branded Fusion. So if you save Ash for the branded Fusion and you save your activation negate for something else, that's the better play, because now you can't use another. But crossout designate with 2 of them in the deck, or we don't know how many. This is someone else's deck list that got top 32.
So the Brand of Fusion is going to resolve. Send down
Lubellion. Lubellion is here.
A second copy.
Yep. Cost.
Lubellion activates to Fusion Summon into the Mirror Jade by returning your cards in your graveyard or banish pile back in the deck. The Mirror Jade's going to require a Fallen Albaz and a Fusion. So you return the Lubellion back in the extra deck to make the Mirror Jade. Very good. And by sending the Edge Imp, he now has the free pluses of the Frankfurt Patchwork. Yeah, wait, this was the first tournament that they could play Change of Heart, and they're not playing Change of Heart? I don't think any of them are playing Change of Heart.
Mirror Jade is on the field, and the Luber is normal summon. A branded Stellar Trap card.
If a TCG player in the chat wants to let me know, was anyone playing Change of Heart in this event?
Branded lost. Yeah.
Normal summoning Aluber. Aluber could search for branded opening, branded in red. He searches for a branded lost.
He's got more cards coming with Lure of Darkness.
Now, what's very good about branded lost is
I like these versions.
your opponent cannot respond to the summon of your fusion monster. So what he does here, which we saw yesterday, is a really pro play. Get ready for it. Brand lost.
You just jam 3 alert.
Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when a monster is fusion summoned. So Polymerization, chain the effect of Mirror Jade. You doing it right now? Chaining Mirror Jade to banish.
It looks like he's going to chain to his Polymerization.
Now what's going to happen here is by banishing the Shizuku on Chainlink 2, Shizuku leaves the field. Chainlink 1, his fusion monster comes out. Then the Ray in the graveyard, after the resolution of all this, which is now in response to the summon of the fusion, the Ray wants to activate in the graveyard because you removed her mech. She hopped out of the mech suit, but she can't activate because the branded lost says your opponent cannot activate in response to a fusion summon. So by chaining the removal to a fusion effect summon, that is a very good way to counter the Ray. Outplayed. And now we got the Masquerade. He's going to minus 600 per card activation. Now, Branded Fusion should be coming to us in maybe 6 months.
A lot of effects going on right now. Just gotta keep all
5 months. 5-6 months. Very big outplay here. Very smart. Now, what's also very good is the Branded Lost is searching. If you fusion summon, you could search for a card that has Fallen Albaz in its name, and he just searched for a negate.
Sometimes you can't tell the difference.
So the Merc Harrier says that if you have a fusion monster, you can negate a monster effect.
25 left.
So he has a monster effect negate, and he countered the Ray, stopped the Ray from summoning, and now he has a monster negate.
Polarization for game?
Do you try to commit it here?
Activates a monster, you can send this to negate the effect. Not even negate the activation, negate the effect. Okay.
I don't
I mean,
think
it doesn't matter. Yeah, like there's not spells. Yeah, there's not a lot of cards you have to interact with it, so I think you just jam it if you do.
So what does he do when he has a monster negate? Afterburner attempting to pop the Masquerade. Now, you might be wondering, why is he not dealing with the Mirror Jade that has non-targeting banishment, non-targeting removal? The Masquerade can only activate once per 2 turns.
if it is a monster effect,
So if he doesn't deal with the Mirror Jade here, he will be activatable next turn, but right now he wants to deal with the Masquerade. Now, by activating Afterburners to destroy the Masquerade, he's going to chain his Branded in red. Add a monster in the graveyard to the hand, and then fusion summon with the monster he's targeting for destruction. And if you read Afterburners, the effect states that then, if you have 3 or more spells in the graveyard, you could destroy a spell and trap card in the field. So if he were to have 3 or more spell or trap cards in the fields, if it does not destroy the monster, you don't get the other effect to pop the back row. It must destroy. Then if it does, you could destroy a back row. And it's non-targeting destruction.
tragedy, make a second Masquerade.
I'm going to be able to trigger both Branded Lost and Tragedy. See what he grabs off him.
And he just summons another Masquerade. And now he's searching with the effect of the Branded Lost search, and also searching with the Tragedy. What is good, what is good? Another Afterburners.
I gotta assume that
Again,
that's what I think if he's jamming.
going for the pop.
Here, the Masquerade anyway, right, so he doesn't take too much damage, but
Finally taking out the Masquerade. He doesn't want to burn for 600 per activation. We got multi-roll. Multi-roll could recycle the Afterburners during the end phase. And just for clarification,
set cards, right? Like, God, I want to know.
the Branded Lost does not stop Ash.
That's telling me that there's a super poly.
Ash negates the effect.
Using it last turn,
And this says the activation of your cards cannot be negated. Ash negates effect. This is activation. So this is not anti-Ash.
For a search and an extra draw thanks to 3 spells in the graveyard. The search is going to find point drones, which will give him access to a token.
He's going to multi-roll, send the Demise of the Land to the graveyard so that he could now have 3 spells in the graveyard with the Engage, so he could search and then draw an additional card.
spell activated. Oh, we got those World Championship sleeves too.
Oh, yeah,
He got Terraforming.
Terraform's a good one.
He Terraforming. He Terraforms into the Mystic Mine. Both players have the same amount of monsters, so it's not going to be effective here.
He already used multi-roll.
What's nasty about the Mystic Mine is if you have more... He has Mystic Mine. He just searched it. If you have more cards in your deck than your opponent... So let's see this. If you were to activate Mystic Mine against this branded deck, do you auto-win? If you have more cards in your deck. So I'm looking right now. What's the out? What is the out? Your monster effects cannot be activated. Your extra deck cannot be activated. There is no out whatsoever. You are 100% reliant on your side deck. So you Mystic Mine with more cards in your deck than your opponent, and then if they have more monster than you, you just say, I'm going to wait till you deck out, and then they scoop. So that's why a lot of people want this card banned. So you have more monsters, you cannot activate, you cannot attack. Not cool. DPE, you cannot activate. DPE activates. There's no out. No out, and Anaconda's banned. He's got Mystic Mine right now to the hand, but he's not playing. Wait, he's playing it.
And a temporary
Why is the audience cheering for Mystic Mine? What the heck is wrong with them?
So now multi-roll is going to activate. He's going to shoot.
Once returned during the end phase, if both players control the same number of monsters, destroy this card. Oh, Shiziku's banished. Okay, correction. This confused me. She's banished. Why is she not over there? What the hell?
targeting that one.
Why is a Link monster in defense?
That could've just been
Why is she in defense?
left his afterburners, right? So not really trying to hit the one.
Twin Twister, wiping out the field spell, taking out the impermanence. Again, we talked about this, how the main deck has no out whatsoever to the Mystic Mine. You are completely reliant on the Twin Twisters, and if you take out the Mystic Mine and they have Metaverse, Metaverse will play another Mystic Mine from the deck and then you win. So Twin Twisters is stealing this whole game, where Mystic Mine was supposed to be stealing it.
It's not going to be that one.
He's stealing it back.
It's all up to that. That's the same card that sets the one turn, right?
No, the other one's Demise of the Land.
Oh, yes. This is fresh.
But this one could also be Demise of the Land.
You're not wrong.
Did he imperm the... Wait, he Twin Twisted during the end phase? Okay.
Right? That's not going to be a Widow Anchor.
That's
You
true.
wouldn't be able to use it.
That's very, very true.
Main deck 3 Lightning Storm. Well, we don't have his deck. I'm showing one of the decks that got top 32.
Oh, looks like we're not going to find out, though. As Poe picks him up.
Scooping it up, scooping to a Twin Twister. Twin Twister scoop.
The interesting point, though, where...
Holy moly. So far, none of this hasn't been too foreign to how Master Duel plays. All right, we're going in.
One final match will be played in one game, in fact.
Now, it's very interesting to note, the Sky Striker player did, in fact, choose to go second.
Where he shovels up, puts Albion on the bottom.
So this is the first time the Sky Striker player is able to, I'm not sure what happened game one, I forget if he was able to choose, but he's choosing to go second.
Doesn't look like there's anything on Resolution. He's going to start things off with Branded Lost.
He's got Branded Lost. He's going to imperm negate the Alubur.
Respond with Branded in red.
Yeah, he's shaking.
You can't use it here because you have Nimble on the field already.
All right, so what's happening right now is the Alubur is attempting to search, and Alubur's main search is going to be searching for the Branded Fusion. That's the best thing to search. Now, he is chaining the Branded in red to the Impermanence so that he could dodge the negate. Dodge the negate. Right now, the Branded Lost is not doing anything right now, but it will be potentially be doing something once he Fusion summons.
That's tough. The Branded Lost makes this really...
Adds the Albaz with the quick effect Fusion.
All right, so
Fusion summons with Alubur into the Quiritis.
And he's on that specific fusion monster, but...
Fully resolving, searching for the Branded Fusion.
Fusion. Things to get out of control real quicker. Interesting to see this hand for Poe. Is that...
Okay.
He's got a tragic and a single.
He's activating the Branded Lost to search for the Shrouded Dragon.
and he throws the Ash Blossom down there.
There you go.
So,
If you didn't believe me, you could not
all these cards in, even though...
have Lost block the Ash Blossom on your Branded Fusion. Branded Fusion does in fact get countered by the Ash Blossom.
Drew spell card. What is it?
Oh, Hornet Drones.
Now, because he didn't search for the Mercurier, I think he has it already in the hand.
Attacks with it.
Token into Hayate. Quiritis is going to reduce him to 0, but even though you're reduced to 0, you still get the effect of the Hayate to send a Sky Striker card to the graveyard. Now, normally if you don't have Ray in the grave, you generally do send Ray to the graveyard unless you want to send more spells to the grave. Maybe you want Kagari to add your one of Engage back to the hand.
Oh, he's gonna choose
Sending Ray, sends Ray, sends Ray.
Maybe he's thinking to get Shizuku and set some trap
He was thinking about Engage. He was thinking.
cards to get back Hornet Drones.
It's a good thing he had that app.
On that Brandon Red Chain, was that not an illegal activation? I didn't see any monster in his graveyard. So what happened at the start of the duel is he used the... I hate when zooming out's messing this up. At the start of the duel, he activated the Shrouded Dragon. The Shrouded Dragon sent a Fallen Albaz from the deck to the graveyard, and then he normal summoned the Alubur. Now, by doing that, that helps him play around... Let's see all the cards he has in his deck that plays around. It plays around Effect Veiler. It does not play around Ash Blossom. It plays around Impermanence. So the Impermanence and the Effect Veiler, he is able to jump off the field with the Branded in red by preemptively getting the Fallen Albaz in the graveyard. All right.
Ash Blossom, otherwise this would have got completely under out of hand.
100%. I was gonna load his graveyard a bit with these.
Kana onto Quiritis. Kana is stopping the Quiritis from attacking next turn. Set in. No Mystic Mine. Where the Mystic Mine at?
Bring in phase, Shizuku activates, and now he gets the engage.
Adds Engage to the hand during the end phase for next turn to be searching.
Plenty to finish this third game. Love to see it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that was actually smart the way he played that turn, sending the Ray there, knowing that he could get...
Anchor Negate as well. Well, the Anchor Negate, because it's turn 1, he doesn't have an Anchor set. But if he did have Anchor set, it also plays around Anchor.
So we're going with an Albion effect.
Normal Summon Tragedy.
So there's an attack.
Normal Summon Tragedy. It's like, what? Let me read that. Why are you normal summoning that?
I'll take 11.
He just attacked.
69.
He attacked his Tragedy. Get Tragedy in the graveyard to activate. Now, the Tragedy has another effect. The Tragedy says that if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can, only by card effect you get to add. So he's not doing that effect. The Tragedy effect he's using is while in the graveyard, you can banish this card to grab back your Branded Fusion. So he's going all in to add back that branded fusion, which the main goal of branded fusion is to summon your non-targeting banish Mirror Jade, which also helps you summon non-targeting multiple destroy cards on the field's Chimera. And that's pretty much off a single branded fusion. One branded fusion gives you multiple non-targeting removal.
Oh, respect it. Very smart. Right here, we're going to see one of the first cards you have to barrier.
Oh my Jesus. Now, his deck isn't toxic just because of Mystic Mine. It's also toxic because of the dimensional barrier. He's playing 6 dimensional barriers, by the way. He has the trap trick, which searches for it and makes it usable the turn he searches for it. And then, as you saw right there, dimensional barrier, negate the branded fusion. Not really negate, but prevent him from summoning a fusion. So you declare fusion, that's it. Doesn't even let him summon. Now, you might be thinking, why not allow him to summon and then negate the monster he summons? Well, the monster he summons, this is a quick effect. So if you were to activate the barrier, then chain the Mirror Jade, then you're not negated. If you were to Mirror Jade, then chain the dimensional barrier, he still gets the cost. The cost effect of sending the Albion to then search for a branded in red to fusion summon next turn. And also, the dimensional barrier only negates the fusion on the field. So if you activate a fusion on the field, you could chain removal. It says only while they are on the field is it negated.
So that's how these things
So what happened here? He barrier, then he set. Barrier, negate the branded fusion, then he sets a back row. Okay. What is he back row setting? Now, I mean, I'm pretty sure he has a Merc Courier in his hand because he didn't search it with the branded Lost. He searched for the Shrouded Dragon instead. So while he didn't use Game 3 to use his Mystic Mine, he has Dimensional Barriered, which is a card he's main decking.
Shizuku is swapped out for Kagari.
Kagari, not limited at all. They have 3 freaking Kagari.
Ooh.
Call by the Grave, the second Kagari. Negate that Kagari.
None of that Kagari's gonna be swapped out.
Kagari into Hayate. Hayate, direct attack. Send a Sky Striker card from the deck to the grave. He has 0 attack from the Quiritis, by the way. To clear up confusion, does Chimera need to be summoned by a spell card or effect? So, you know how Chimera works. You just want me to say it out loud. The Chimera says, must first be fusion summoned only using fusion materials from your hand and field and with at least 1 monster from each. And if fusion summoned by a spell effect, only do you get the effect to draw and pop. Yeah?
Very quiet. He picked up his extra deck and looked at it, and everybody just held their breath.
Oh, that is probably why.
Normal Summon Veiler. Oh my. Krishron Hauk. Now, Auroradon's been banned, but Krishron Hauk, you go Hauk into Selene. Selene, summon the Veiler from the graveyard back in the field. Accesscode Talker. Get poppin'.
And now we've got an Accesscode Talker that's going to pump up to 53.
From just 2 monsters, Hauk into Selene, into Accesscode, 5,300, wipe up the field at 6,900 life points.
Got all sorts of attributes in his graveyard to banish for it.
Yeah, we saw him cycle through all those in the beginning. The Shizuku.
It did cause confusion in the recent YCS, it did.
All right. So
What happened? What did he summon it off of?
how many have? 3.
Yeah, this is a commanding position. Commanding. I think things are.
Where does he get the extra damage from?
Does he need it if he has something like Sanctum set?
Not if it's like exactly Sanctum, I suppose, because then you can just...
Now, when did he Quiritis? So what? Let's talk about this ruling right now. If we read the Quiritis, I think he baited him. Quiritis states that during the main phase, you could change the attack of all monsters currently on the field to 0. He tricked him. He summoned Hayate, and he said, I would like to end my main phase. I would like to attack you at Hayate. And Quiritis said, okay, reduce to 0. Just to stop 1,500 damage. And then he said, okay, I'm gonna retain my main phase. Because you activated a card on the attempt of me ending my main phase to go to the battle phase, because you thought I was gonna poke you for 1,500, I tricked you. I then retain my main phase, Hauk, Selene, Accesscode Talker. Now you take 5,300 damage because you got jebaited. But if the Accesscode Talker takes out the Quiritis will activate. stating, if this leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you could special summon a Fallen Albaz or a Despia from your deck. So that's what's happening right now. And also, Aluber in the graveyard. If your fusion monster leaves the field because of your opponent's card effect, you could target your opponent's Accesscode Talker, special summon this, and negate it. So, let's see what's going on.
Someone out.
He's Coritis affecting right now.
Like I'm just saying, like even if he doesn't beat him this turn,
And he doesn't have Aluber in the graveyard. No Aluber for the negates.
card that just lets him buy another turn.
Then Accesscode can clean up.
Yeah.
All right. So Aquarius has been destroyed. It's going to go ahead and give James.
He's screwed. His normal summon's already used up.
You've seen him in the intro. That's Accesscode.
Coritis activating to summon.
Monsters of the game. It's kind of
Fallen Albaz. Fallen Albaz is going to fusion summon with the opponent's monster now. What could he fusion summon into? On summon, the Albaz needs to discard a card, and then you have to fusion summon with the Albaz and your opponent's monster. So Albaz plus Accesscode Talker is a dark monster. So if we look at here, we have Albaz is a light or dark. What is he? Is a dark. So we could make a Starving Venom, 2 dark monsters on the fields. We could make a Titanclad, 2,500 more attack plus the Fallen Albaz. We could make Mirror Jade, Fallen Albaz plus your Link monster. You can pretty much make whatever he wants right now. So it's all coming down to, does he have a negate for this? Does he have a Widow Anchor negate?
These Link boards were sort of formatted by whether it be Accesscode Talker, Appaloosa was another one, Moral Monsters.
a little scary here.
I think little might be a little scary. Big scary. Oh, it's
Imperm. Negate.
Yeah. So the trick here is that Fallen Albaz wants to try and absorb Accesscode Talker as a fusion.
Rip.
Circle. So the impermanence is key here to stop that from happening.
He's destroying everything. He's banish pop, banish pop, 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 pop.
Now he already summoned Kagari this turn though. So it's got to be Shizuku, and I think he's going to be one.
That's lethal damage. That's lethal damage because he activated his Coritis early.
And 15.
Is that not lethal? Did he pot a Pete? Wait, why is he not dealing lethal damage right here? 53 plus 15? Excuse me?
But this is the stuff dreams are made of, right? If you're James. If you can come back from 100 life points in the
Wait.
YCS, that's huge.
This is also, I don't think I've
It's 100 off lethal. It's 53 plus 15. That's 68.
2 sets for Poe.
There's got to be something there.
Right, and it makes so much sense too that he would hold back something like...
Bro, if he could summon Kagari. But Kagari was called by the grave, and I think he already summoned it this turn. Kagari boosts up per spell in your graveyard. 100 life.
I think it's both. I do.
I have to state this again. This dude could have stopped 5,300 damage. He stopped 1,500 damage and then dropped to 100 life points because of it. Wow. Now, let's talk about, was that a misplay? If you activate Coritis when the Sky Striker player still has their normal summon, does that show that he doesn't have good understanding of Sky Striker, not knowing that they could go into an Accesscode Talker? I mean, that was a huge debate. He tricked him with the Hayate and maybe did not expect that he would retain the main phase and then go into Accesscode Talker. I think that was a big oof. How do you avoid that, though? So what happens is, if you are the Sky Striker player and you have Hayate and you have Effect Veiler in your hand, you have to know that your opponent is going to activate the card at the end of your main phase. So he would only activate Coritis if the opponent says battle phase or I end my main phase. So he outbrained him. He literally outbrained him. If he attempted to enter the battle phase and Coritis said, if the Coritis player says, okay, it's fine, then that's it. He loses the Veiler play. He loses the Accesscode Talker play. He loses that play. That play's gone. Now he's in the battle phase. So he attempted to enter the battle phase and the opponent got tricked.
The main monster's on great.
But I mean, James needs to clear these, right? Because just having the haste...
The opponent essentially said, you want to enter the battle phase? No, let me keep you in the main phase. Now, it's worth noting right now that the Sky Striker player cannot use their main card. The Widow Anchor cannot negate. Widow Anchor cannot negate, but the Trap Trick, grabbing another dimensional barrier, that stops fusion summoning for the whole freaking turn, and it's a fusion deck. Now, what you want to do is, if you have a Branded in red, you're going to want to chain the Branded in red to the trap trick before he plays the dimensional barrier. The problem with that, though, is let's talk about the chain link order. If you were to Branded in red into anything that is relevant, you will, on the resolution of the trap trick, he then could chain dimensional barrier to the effect of your fusion. So you're pretty much screwed either way. You're screwed.
You have to try to get to Mirror Jade here, and it is branded in red. Picks up Albaz.
Grabs Albaz with a barrier. Okay, Brandon red. And he's going to fusion summon into Lubellion. Lubellion's going to activate on a new chain link, which now he's going to have the dimensional barrier. So what he's trying to do right now is, with the Lubellion, Lubellion's attempting to summon a Mirror Jade, which will be non-targeting banish, which could then give you access into double non-targeting destroy cards in the field. But the trap trick is grabbing the barrier, and it's going to negate all of that. But it's not negated if the Lubellion could jump off the field in some way. If he activates Lubellion and he chains the dimensional barrier, the monster is only negated while on the field. So what is a card that he could chain to dodge the dimensional barrier? He already branded in red, so that's out. He could Super Poly. If you have Super Poly, that wins it. That wins it. Chain Super Poly. I think that's the only play. I think Super Poly, you already brand red. It's only one brand red. If he Super Polys, then he's good. He's got a Super Poly.
Barrier. So he drew a dimensional barrier.
Book of Moon. Book of Moon.
To bring out another dimensional barrier.
Okay, Lubellion going for the big activation and trying to summon the Mirror Jade.
So he declares fusion
He's
monster here as one
chaining and resolving. That's it. That's it.
Courier has some materials for Rebellion there.
Fusion monsters cannot be summoned. Fusion monsters are negated only while on the field.
Right, yep. Sending Fallen Albaz to the graveyard.
Red Reboot. Yeah, Red Reboot's another one. If he put in Red Reboot, that would have been big. Red Reboot or Super Poly, that's the only way. Scoops it. And there you go. Sky Strikers winning. Now, this is a really controversial win because of his deck. They're calling his deck Mystic Mine with Sky Striker. It's not a Sky Striker deck, it's a Mystic Mine deck. And also, the triple trap trick into Dimensional Barrier, that combo is in Master Duel right now. Now, obviously, the Mystic Mine is banned, and we didn't really see it take play at all. We did see it for Game 2, but he did get twistered. So, you let me know. Did you enjoy me covering the YCS Grand Finals, checking out the TCG? Very similar to Master Duel, and maybe after this tournament, we might see Trap Trick or Dimensional Barrier in Master Duel. Now, I hope to see more of the top decks, so I'm going to review the deck real quick, the two decks. This is the first place deck. We already looked at a lot at this during the Grand Finals, all about having 8 ways to get to your Mystic Mine and the Trap Trick plus the Dimensional Barrier. We looked at all the website deck lists. Some people are using this combo, but not 3 and 3. Grabbing it, it also grabs impermanence. So I would like to potentially maybe see, I mean, I don't. It's a toxic combo. This is a very incredibly degenerate deck. Triple imperm, triple Dimensional Barrier, triple Trap Trick. That's nuts. That's actually nuts. It's ingenious. It's nuts. It's toxic. You can also dig for Evenly Match, which is then activatable. And unfortunately, we are missing a lot of the deck lists, but you could check out the deck lists on the website as we're updating with them. We have a Drytron deck. We have Sword Soul, Tenyi. They did lose a Rorodon, so they're not making the Christian Houck play anymore. Looks very similar to Master Duel. And now this deck, oh my. This card's going to change everything. This is going to change the entire meta. Water Enchantress of the Temple. Now, if we look at the top 32 decks, Punk, they're all playing the Water Enchantress. They're all playing the Adventure Engine. This is going to change the whole game. The Water Enchantress gets you the Journey, and then the Journey is going to get you a token and the Draco back and the Griffin. You're going to have an Omni Negate with the Griffin. You're You're gonna have a 2,000 attack, 2,000 defense token with the ability to return any card on the field back to the hand. You can turn the token into a Link Spider. Quick and easy Omni Negate. Top 8, a lot of decks missing. Now, a deck you need to look out for that's coming out to Master Duel soon, within a month, is Flwandereeze. Flwandereeze is going to change the whole game. This card incredibly consistently summons this turn 1, and also could summon Rise of the Mega Monarch, which could stack the top of your deck with bad cards from your graveyard or your fields, and it can return itself back to the hand and continually do it. That's nuts. You can also summon the Mist Valley Apex Avian. You can't special summon except for wind monsters. This deck is so toxic. Ignister. Jeez. Mystic Mine. What the hell? Small World's going to be a big impact in the game also. If you have Dead Driver, you could search for a Veiler, Gamma, Ignister, a Chi-Chi, Boruru, Gachiri. You're not going to search for Gamma because you're banishing the driver. But okay. Interesting.